Glad you've flipped the disc over and not tried playing the rim. Right, yes, the voice that's breathing down your radiophonic tube type things right now is Andy Partridge of XTC. This fellow here has kidnapped me to talk about the new album that we have called Skylarking. I was very worried that this LP was going to not disappoint, but kind of throw off on a tangent fans of ours that liked the clangorous guitar sounds and these strange chords that shot in from nowhere and things of that nature. Kind of the musical jagged edges. And this LP really doesn't have a lot of musical jagged edges. The songs that were picked because they fell into a kind of a continuous category, like a sort of a summer category. I'm awaiting my honorary member of the Beach Boys shirt for this falling into a summer category here, but this was something that I had a long conversation with Todd over, was the fact that he found a lot of our records in the past, for him, and I know a lot of people like this, but he found them rather unnerving, you know, the kind of the clangorousness in some songs of the past, things like Train Running Low, or Rain of Blows, or Complicated Games, or Travels in Nihilon, things that, you know, the darker side of XTC. I think he found that a little too unnerving and wanted to make, in his quotes, an enjoyable experience that you could return back to. It could have been a very loud LP. It could have been, we had lots of songs, like, I don't know, 30 songs or something like that, and it could have been one of 3 LPs. It could have been a very boisterous, crashing guitar album, electric guitar album, or it could have been a summery, gentler experience, which it's turned out to be, or it could have been a mixture. I would have been for a mixture, but Todd suggested we should go for the all-summer thing here, so we're going for an all-summery thing. Yeah, Earn Enough for us, it's a basic kind of song. I mean, I wrote the thing, and I remember rushing down from the attic saying, I've got a song, it's great. I didn't think I could, it was like a constipation time, and I didn't think I could find another song there, and then I rushed down and I found one, dug real deep, and I just slammed down a demo real quick, kind of me and an electric guitar, just jang, 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 you know. And I thought, well, it's a bit of a crass demo, but I'll post it to Todd and see what he thinks. And then he phoned me up and said, well, we should do it just like this. And I said, well, it's a little bit crass, you know, that crashing guitar. He said, oh, I really like it. So here is a polished, crass version of Earn Enough for Us. Yes, the album's title is Skylarking. This was after much deliberation and arm wrestling and a little jousting and all that sort of stuff. But our albums go through literally hundreds of titles before we eventually rest on one. I'm sure everybody does this, but our albums have been things in the past like the Big Express, for example. For a while it was called Hard Blue Rayhead. And you know, the album titles grow and turn around corners and come back again, and somebody says a word or a phrase. This one, actually, Skylarking, is a term used in England, mostly used by fathers to sons, as in, where have you been? You've been out skylarking. It means generally messing around or getting into trouble or just possibly doing something you shouldn't have been doing. I think in the States, a skylark is some fabulous form of motor vehicle. I've got completely off the track. What was I talking about? Oh yeah, our album titles. Skylarking is an expression meaning, you know, messing around. And as all the tracks on the album were, oddly enough, picked from demos by Todd Rundgren, before we even met the chap, he phoned over and said, look, I have the order of the album that we're going to do it in. And this was really bizarre because we'd never worked like that before. He'd actually heard the demos. We sent him about 3 albums worth of songs, and he picked out, about the songs that he wanted to work on, that he liked. And he actually said, well, this is the order they're going to be in. And when we started on day 1, it was like, you know, the intro of track 1. We worked through very, very methodically. But overall, the album has a kind of a very summery sort of feel. And the tracks have been picked so that they flow from day into night, or from life into death, or from growth into decay, or whatever. Big Day. This is Colin's song about the frightening side of marriage and the it's forever side, the locked in side, and I don't mean the flavour. But this is this never changed too much from the demo. He did a great demo His demo of this had like a whistling kettle on the end. Well, I thought it was a whistling kettle for ages, and it's actually, he had a little plug-in battery amplifier that went wrong on him as he was doing the demo, and it kind of made noises like but then we never couldn't convert that to the finished thing. Listen out for the mariachi trumpets in the background. This is Big Day.
It's your big day.
If you've been spinning that dial around and you're unfortunate enough to land on this station, you're listening to Andy Partridge of XTC, who's trying to explain his way out of a lot of trouble here, probably a hanging matter in a few states. We're talking about some tracks from the new XTC album, Skylarking, and it looks like we're going to talk about the track called Another Satellite, which I got a feeling is possibly my favourite track on the album. There's not too much I can say about this, except I wanted it to sound... I mean, you might get the sentiment from the lyrics, I shan't explain that, but I wanted it to sound like a kind of a remembrance of a futuristic 50s jazz that never was. Sort of the kind of trendy music they might have broadcast from Vostok 1 or some other Russian satellite going around, you know, we better capture American audience, broadcast kinky crazy jazz, man. So it's an attempt at futuristic 50s jazz.
My heart is taken, it's not lost in space.
XTC album producer Todd Rundgren.
When we first started the XTC album, they sent me a lot of songs. They sent me probably at least 30, 35 songs between Colin and Andy. Maybe a month or two even before the band came to America to start the record, I developed a sort of an overall concept with a running order and everything for the whole record. And when we started the record, we set about to kind of fill in the concept. And with very few changes, that's more or less the way the record is now. One of the changes was that Andy came up with a song that I didn't necessarily feel fit into the concept, but Andy wanted to have on the record, and that song was called Another Satellite. And to get it onto the record, we had to remove a song. And the song that got removed was Dear God. Not by my choice, but by other powers decided that Dear God would be removed from the album. But alternatively, they used it as a B-side to a single, and the single appeared here as an import. And suddenly everybody started playing the B-side of the single, which was Dear God. And the upshot of that was that... I suppose Geffen, the record label, decided that Dear God should indeed appear on the record, and they placed it, I guess, in what was its original place in the running order, and removed a different song, which was Mermaid Smiled. But I'm happy with the change of events myself, you know, and I'm also really happy that the record is getting some attention now, because we worked really long and hard on it and tried to do something that was really different and subtle. And the fact that people are picking up on it is satisfying indeed.
Dear God, hope you got the letter out. Dear God.
This is a song called A Man Who Sailed Around His Soul. And I took the tape or sent the tape to Todd Rundgren, and he called me up, and I kind of half-heartedly didn't expect it to get on the album. I thought, well, maybe he won't like it, you know, not all the lyrics are there, maybe it's too short, you know. And it sounds like the kind of demo I did was like, you know, Leonard Cohen on a bad day. It was pretty miserable, one man and his wretched acoustic guitar of a demo. And he called back and said, yeah, this is great. I want to do a whole brass arrangement on this, and I want to do it something like, you know, like Mel Torme or Buddy Greco or somebody like that, you know, kind of late 50s Vegas-y spy film type brass arrangement. And I initially thought, God, the bloke's flipped his Beatle wig 10 sizes too big. And then we got over there and we started working on it, and we had these brass players come in and flute players and stuff, and it really took on this whole different character, and quite shocking, you know, quite surprised me what the song became. And I really liked it. I went from doubting the song to really liking it. How can I describe it? It's ended up as the soundtrack of a beatnik existentialist spy film from the early 60s that never was. The man with the golden... The man with the golden...
The man who sailed around his soul from east to west, from pole to...
The man with the golden... goodness me, yes, the man... Oh, the man with the golden retriever. No, the spy who came in from out in the drizzle. No, I don't know. Well, you get the idea. Oh, well, here's a real fun track. This is fun time now, because there's a track here called Dying. This is one of Collins' tunes. I'm going to put my serious head on here. No, this is one of Collins' tunes. Very short little tune. I think it's about 1 minute 50 or something like that. And it's just about dying. I think it's about a relative of his who died, and I just think he was expressing, just like thoughts about this relative that had dropped down dead somewhere, quite unexpectedly, you know. When he first brought it up, I felt a little bit embarrassed by the lyrics, and then I just had a relative die, and I know exactly what he's talking about. So, first of all, I thought, oh no, maybe you shouldn't say those things, or maybe they just left unsaid, you know. And then he put it in a song, and then. As I say, well, my grandfather died, and I thought, oh, good grief. And I didn't think it cut me up, and it did terrible. And I started to think about this song Dying. So this is a sort of serious time here. I put my my seriousing head on, but this is spot on about dying.
It frightens me.
The LP seems to reach like now that this dying has finished there, it seems to reach like the lowest, blackest point, and I suppose it's just before the dawn, because the next track, Sacrificial Bonfire, was chosen to go in this place because Todd Rundgren thought that the character of the LP should now come back up. It should now offer hope, you know, after the darkest point in the record. So this is like the darkest point before the dawn, or, you know, the point before new life or whatever. Sacrificial Bonfire, again, one of the bass player Colin, our shy old Collins tunes, and he did quite an interesting demo of this, just him tapping along on various bits and pieces, a guitar and drum box, and did change quite radically from the demo, because we put a full orchestra, a real orchestra on this, so it has quite a large, goes from primitive to very large and very sophisticated, and then down to primitive again, but I hope you enjoy it. What more can I say?
Fire they cried, so evil.
You've been listening to an exclusive hour of conversation with Andy Partridge of XTC and music from the band's current Geffen LP, Skylarking. This special was produced by George Gimarc, with a big thanks to John Michaels of LeBlanc Productions, executive producer Larry Butler. George Gimarc here, and on behalf of Geffen Records, thanks for listening.